I never expected that dating someone for 2 years would eventually lead to me being stalked and harassed by his vindictive new girlfriend, but Jessica proved that some people will go to any lengths to eliminate what they perceive as competition. My relationship with Derek had ended amicably 6 months earlier when we realized we wanted different things in life, and I was genuinely happy when I heard through mutual friends that he had found someone new who seemed to make him smile again. I thought Jessica and I would never cross paths since Derek and I had maintained a respectful distance and only communicated occasionally about returning each other's belongings. However, Jessica apparently saw my very existence as a threat to her relationship, and she was determined to erase me from Derek's life completely, even if it meant destroying my reputation, my career, and my mental health in the process. The harassment began subtly with Jessica creating fake social media accounts to monitor my online activity and leave anonymous negative comments on my posts. She would screenshot everything I shared and apparently analyze it for any possible connection to Derek, even though I had moved on completely and was focusing on my career in marketing. She started spreading rumors about me to Derek's friends, claiming that I was still obsessed with him and trying to sabotage their relationship through manipulation and lies. When I began dating someone new, Jessica somehow found out and started contacting my new boyfriend with fabricated stories about my past, trying to convince him that I was unstable and untrustworthy. She was like a shadow that followed me everywhere, always lurking and plotting new ways to make my life miserable because she couldn't handle the fact that Derek had loved someone before her. Things escalated dramatically when Jessica discovered where I worked and began targeting my professional life with a campaign of lies and sabotage that nearly cost me everything I had worked for. She created fake online reviews for my company, claiming that I had provided terrible service and was unprofessional and incompetent in my dealings with clients. She also started calling my workplace anonymously, pretending to be upset customers who had been mistreated by me, forcing my boss to investigate complaints that were completely fabricated. The most damaging attack came when she somehow got hold of my work email address and began sending fake messages to my colleagues and clients, claiming to be me and writing inappropriate or offensive content that made me look unprofessional. My reputation was being systematically destroyed by someone I had never even met face to face, and I felt completely helpless against her relentless assault on my life. Jessica's harassment reached a dangerous peak when she began showing up at places where she knew I would be, following me to the gym, my favorite coffee shop, and even my apartment building. She would sit in her car outside my workplace for hours, taking photos of me and my coworkers, and I started feeling genuinely afraid for my safety. She had somehow obtained my phone number and began sending me threatening text messages, warning me to stay away from Derek forever or face serious consequences. The messages were filled with detailed descriptions of my daily routine, proving that she had been stalking me extensively and knew far more about my life than any stranger should. When I tried to talk to Derek about his girlfriend's behavior, he initially didn't believe me, claiming that Jessica was sweet and wouldn't hurt a fly, and he suggested that I might be imagining things or exaggerating the situation. Instead of continuing to be a victim of Jessica's psychological warfare, I decided to fight back by investigating exactly who this woman was and what secrets she might be hiding behind her perfect facade. I started by doing basic online searches about her background, looking through her social media accounts and trying to piece together information about her past relationships, employment history, and family connections. What I discovered was that Jessica had a pattern of obsessive behavior with previous boyfriends, and I found several social media posts from other women warning people about her manipulative and dangerous tendencies. But the real breakthrough came when I decided to run a comprehensive background check on her, using a professional service that could access public records, court documents, and criminal databases. What I found was shocking and gave me all the ammunition I needed to turn the tables on this psychopath once and for all. The background check revealed that Jessica had an extensive criminal history that she had been hiding from everyone, including Derek, and her past was filled with fraud, identity theft, and harassment charges from multiple states. She had been arrested 3 times for stalking previous boyfriends and their new partners, with restraining orders filed against her in 2 different cities. Most shocking of all, she was currently wanted for questioning in a credit card fraud scheme where she had stolen the identities of several women and run up thousands of dollars in debt using their personal information. She had also been fired from her previous job at a financial services company for embezzling money from client accounts, and there was an active warrant for her arrest in another state related to check forgery charges. This woman who had been terrorizing me and trying to destroy my life was actually a career criminal who had been evading law enforcement for months. Armed with this explosive information about Jessica's criminal past, I carefully planned my revenge to expose her to everyone who mattered and ensure that she faced the consequences of both her current harassment and her previous crimes. My first move was to compile all the evidence of her stalking and harassment behavior, including screenshots of her fake social media accounts, copies of the threatening messages she had sent me, and documentation of her workplace sabotage attempts. I then created a comprehensive report that detailed both her current criminal behavior toward me and her extensive criminal history, which I planned to share with Derek, his family, her employer, and law enforcement simultaneously. I wanted to make sure that when Jessica's world came crashing down, it would be complete and devastating, leaving her with no way to escape the consequences of her actions or manipulate her way out of trouble. The moment of reckoning came when I arranged to meet Derek at a coffee shop under the pretense of discussing Jessica's behavior one more time, but this time I brought a folder full of evidence that would shatter his perception of his girlfriend forever. I watched his face turn pale as I showed him printouts of Jessica's arrest records, mugshots from her previous stalking charges, and documentation of the active warrants for her arrest in other jurisdictions. He was completely shocked to learn that the woman he thought he loved was actually a dangerous criminal who had been lying to him about every aspect of her identity and background. Derek immediately called Jessica to confront her about the evidence, and when she tried to deny everything, he told her that their relationship was over and she needed to stay away from both of us permanently or he would contact the police himself. But Derek ending their relationship was just the beginning of Jessica's downfall, because I had already set in motion a series of events that would expose her criminal activities to everyone who needed to know the truth. I had sent copies of her criminal background report to her current employer, who immediately fired her and reported her to the authorities when they realized they had unknowingly hired a wanted fugitive. I also contacted the police departments in the jurisdictions where she had active warrants, providing them with her current address and employment information so they could finally apprehend her for her previous crimes. Additionally, I shared the evidence of her stalking and harassment behavior with local law enforcement, who opened an investigation into her recent criminal activities and began building a case against her for the threats and sabotage she had directed at me. The beautiful conclusion to this nightmare came when Jessica was arrested at her apartment just 3 days after I exposed her criminal past, and she was extradited to face charges in multiple states for her various crimes. Her arrest made the local news because of the extensive nature of her criminal activities and the fact that she had been evading law enforcement for so long while continuing to commit new crimes. Derek was mortified that he had been dating a career criminal and apologized profusely for not believing me when I first tried to tell him about her dangerous behavior. Jessica lost everything: her job, her apartment, her relationship, and her freedom, all because she couldn't handle the fact that Derek had a past before her. The woman who had tried so hard to destroy my life ended up destroying her own through her obsessive and criminal behavior, and I finally felt safe knowing that she was behind bars where she couldn't hurt anyone else. Sometimes the best revenge is simply allowing someone's true nature to be revealed, and watching as their own actions lead to their inevitable downfall.